We are running a little bit behind, and appreciate you coming out tonight. I've been asked to conduct the meeting not by virtue of the fact that I'm qualified in any way, shape, or form. I think it's by virtue of the fact that I have the biggest mouth, and we're missing Mr. Polier. He is down at the coast, it's my understanding, taking water temperature data and he will share with us when he comes back. So we'll look forward to that. But I do want to call this meeting to order. Sparta Town Council, May 6, 2025. And if everyone will, we will start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now, first item of business, the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? And are there any additions or changes to our agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor? The next section is our public comment on agenda items only. Citizens are encouraged to comment at this time on any item specifically listed on the meeting agenda. And this is comment times limited to 3 minutes. So if anyone would like to speak to anything that is on our agenda, and there are, if you don't have an agenda, I think, Peggy, do we not here? We have agendas here if anybody would like one. So, excuse me. So if anyone has any comments, the floor is open to public comment on agenda items. Okay, seeing no movement there. The next thing, we do need to approve the meetings of the regular meeting of April the 1st and the budget meeting that was held on April the 22nd of 2025. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Now, we have an honored guest who has weathered many storms and kept our Board of Elections on track. Ms. Sherry Dawson is going to speak to us about the 2025 town election cycle. Thank you, Ms. Sherry.
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm just thrilled to get back into the election stuff after last year. We had a long workload last year, but having a little breathing room now as of today. We got notice that the Griffin election has been settled unless he has 7 days to appeal one more time. It's been a long one. But as for you guys, y'all's upcoming election, your candidate filing dates are going to be July the 7th through the 18th. You have 3 seats open. It'll be Mike Polier's seat, John Brady's seat, and Wes Brinker's seat. Two council and 1 mayor. Filing fee for the town council is $5, and for the mayor's seat is $20. And I have a little statistics to give you. As of yesterday, I run totals for your registered voters in the town. You have 1,084 registered voters, but only 920 active voters. So you have a few that's went inactive. And that's about 13.5% of the total countywide voters. We've got 8,068 countywide registered voters.
What was the number active?
Active is 920 for the town. I also have some flyers here I'll leave with you. It's got all the upcoming information in it. Since 2017, when I started, your turnout for the town has been all over the place. 2017 was a big election because we had several running for mayor, and it had 32.5% turnout. In 2019, when it was just town council seats, it dropped to 28%. And then 2021, it dropped to 14%. In 2023, it jumped back up to 28%. So I have no rhyme or reason for why it changed, but I do know that 2017 was when I think we had like 5 running for mayor. So, and that's about all I have for you guys. If you have any questions for me, but I'll let the pamphlets with y'all. It's got all the upcoming information. I do have stuff on the upcoming primary that finally begins in December 1st, actually. As soon as we get done with the municipal election, December 1st is candidate filing for the primary next year. And we'll have several county seats. We'll have sheriff, clerk of court, 3 board of education seats, 3 county commissioner seats, 2 soil and water. Which soil and water is different. They don't file until June. But for December, we'll have several seats that's coming up. Can I answer any questions for you guys?
Miss Sherry, we do thank you for coming and just for the public information. Sherry and Ann are at our Board of Elections office 5 days out of the week, 8 to 5, am I correct in that?
Yep.
They're always there to answer questions. If you have any questions about your, whether you're registered, anything, they're always there to answer questions, and always been very helpful every time that I've called out there, so that's my personal experience. But you all do a great job, and we appreciate you taking care of our town elections as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Mr. Steve Mason, who's going to bring a presentation on the TDA, which is the Tourism Development Authority. So, Mr. Mason.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to share some general information that we share on a quarterly basis with commissioners, and felt like we met last quarter and brought some information. I want to make sure that we're doing that on a regular basis to share that knowledge with you as well. Just the general overview on that first sheet of the copy that I gave you just kind of recognizes the fact that our third quarter collections were pretty consistent with previous year, have stayed consistent with prior year, and then we were able to support several projects this past few months, of which is some items that we'll talk about in just a minute. And then the other thing that we're have geared up towards is the wayfinding signage project that we shared with y'all the last time I was with you in relationship to that. Now, I'll share with you that I spoke to the commissioners yesterday, and there is a commitment by the commissioners and to support the wayfinding signage project, which is going from conceptual to actual implementation. It's in a bid process right now. I think I shared with y'all last time I was with you that bid system will be put into place, and we'll be looking at probably the process of looking at that. I asked it what the average numbers that we should be looking at as far as an estimate, and that number probably is somewhere between $130,000 and $150,000 for that first wave of signs. Now, we have designated funding for that already within our budget this year at the TDA of additional $50,000, which we've already engaged in $75,000 worth of concept and design. So in relationship to that, those two, we'll have a pretty good amount of money funds that are tied up in this project as we get close to production. And again, I met with the commissioners last night, and in their budget formation, they're looking at having funding to help support that project. So just want to share that with you. Just in addition, Blue Ridge Parkway's closure still has had some effect on tourism, and we've seen some of that flow. And hopefully, as that becomes getting more back into normalcy with the Parkway, we'll see a little bit different change here in the environment too. But we continue to look and see occupancy tax revenues continue to stay pretty stable. When you look down in that third quarter comparisons, that last year's comparison, we were the previous year at 33,295. This year was collected 39,302. So a difference of about just a little over $6,000 in that category. And then looking at the first three quarters, and those two figures there, 181 versus 159 compared to last year, that's about $22,000 difference. We've seen kind of that stay pretty consistent though. I think this next quarter is going to be very similar to last year's quarter. Then going to the Exhibit A, that's just our fund balance sheet, which shows our audited fund balance at $199,000 with revenues of $181,000 and expenses for so far this year at $175,000. We have outstanding grants right now currently at $24,982, and then we also have obligated expenses at $24,982. The long-range plan funding, when you look at those figures and extrapolate those numbers out of the equation, we're looking at right now a fund balance available of $7,708. Now that's notwithstanding that long-range plan funds, those are funds that we have in the kitty, but they're not being spent. So those funds are still there. That would go back looking up to that number of available fund and revenue expenses of that $180,000. Let's calculate those numbers back into the equation. So, and then when you look at the next Exhibit B is just the numbers that were extrapolated from the first page and where those numbers came from. And then in the last Exhibit C, that's just a breakdown of expenses. And we've had funding that we've had this year for this quarter. We funded Solid Rock Food Closet by way of a litter pickup that we've had with a litter collection group in the community. And we have a program that's set up to pay $10 a bag for pickup. So they had 680 bags that they picked, 168 bags that were picked up during that segment, so we picked up 1680. Also, we had reference to the fall, winter, and spring guides for Allegheny newspaper. Those guides were supported by promotion funding by the TDA, as well as another event that was supported that's coming up for the Fairgrounds with the Motorcycle Sports Trade Association. So, and then this most recent, this past weekend, the TDA sponsored both the music hall maintenance as well as the Pie Festival at the Fairgrounds. So, a lot of things that we've been getting engaged in over the last few months, and we'll be looking at a couple more. We have a meeting this week on Thursday, which will be addressing some additional grants. Any questions?
Mr. Mason, we appreciate it in case anyone doesn't know, the Tourism Development Authority was mandated to set up by the General Assembly, and the funds, the income comes from the occupancy tax, every single bit of it, and these funds are directed specifically for tourism. So we appreciate that, and town and county do help when they can, perhaps, but these funds are earmarked specifically for that, so that's a good thing. And anybody have any questions about this very firm?
The board members that we have are, I think we're in a very good position right now that we're very concerned about what and take great pride in what they're doing. So I think at the end of the day, we've got a good group of people that are currently sitting on.
And you're spreading the money, spreading it around to different organizations, different activities, and that's what it's supposed to be. Done. So I thank you for the report. If nobody has any other questions.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda will be Miss Debbie Brewer talking to us about the Allegheny County Library's Story Walk project at Krause Park, which they have been before us before to discuss it. So, Miss Debbie, tell us what you think.
Okay, I don't know what it needs to be, so can y'all hear me? Okay. Thank y'all for giving us a few minutes of your time. As you said, we've been before you before about this, and I think there might have been some questions, so we were asked to come back to see if you did have any questions before we move forward. This may be our last meeting. Joyce Bees with our bookstore and one of our friends at the library, and also Brandy, right behind her, is one of our friends that's here with us, also with us. I laid a packet in front of you that gave you some information, pictures of the story walk and what we envision. And this is something that libraries all over the United States are doing now. It's several of our libraries in our system have story walks, some of them right around their own building. But the best place is where you can get people out walking and you put maybe a children's book in there and they can read it as they walk. I can envision that there might be other uses. I think other agencies might use it to publicize something they're doing. Maybe a contest could be done with a QR code at the end that people, maybe a photography contest or something could be put in that, and that people vote with the QR code at the end. There's some different things I can see using it for. I had earlier talked to Wanda at the college and other people that are in the community, and they thought it was a nice thing that we could offer. And so what we're thinking is the library could handle, who would be using it for the month or whatever, but the basis of it, where it was started, is having children's stories in it where parents and children can walk along and read the stories. I saw the first one, I saw it several years ago at a meeting. But we have the information in front of you. It's also at the end, there's information about how it needs to be installed. And the Friends of the Library have agreed to pay to have it installed, the expenses. The only thing we're asking our maintenance crew is to install these. We're looking at 16 different of these things here. This is what they look like, and we want to do it in a metal, not in a wooden frame, but the metal, so that it would hopefully stay a long time. So Joyce, do you have anything you want to know?
Jose, do we need to pay your staff for helping to install or to install them? Or is that what the town wants to cover?
Council, at this point in time, it's not really gonna take us a lot to get them installed. My conversation with the library was they were gonna provide us with the material that we needed. We would provide man hours, so it would be done in sections to make sure that general operations of the town were not affected. So we're fine. We don't really have any cost at this point in time on our end, besides 2 or 3 personnel to go over there and use the material, and we can do them in different groups. My conversation with them was we'll probably do 3 or 4 a month until we get them all 16 established. What I needed you to see is the actual layout itself. If you look at the top picture, it has gravel on the bottom. My recommendation is we just do it with the grass growing to it, as you'll see in the bottom picture and in the next 2. And then our staff will just be able to weed eat around it. Shouldn't be a problem. That would also cut down on the cost that it's going to require to maintain gravel. And we could just weed eat around it whenever we mow the park. It would be the easiest way. It would be the most cost-effective way as well, versus having to have it sprayed every year. At this point in time, I would just need council's approval that you're okay with that design, and then I can work with them on getting the stuff established. We should be able to do it with no significant cost of time.
Okay, one of the things the Friends did question about, is if, you know, if we're not gonna put cement, around it, if the maintenance crew could, you know, if something happened or it loosened, if they could add dirt or whatever it takes to
Yeah.
secure those,
The original design that you sent me says you can do it with cement or without cement. We'll be better off without cement, that way if we ever have to take it up, it's not as burdensome to get it out. Plus, if anyone wants to, if any of those signs were to break, it'd be easier for us to take up, cover that up and let you know that one of your signs is broken and you'll need to order a replacement for it, and we can replace it much easier versus when you do cement, it's gotta sit there for a while and you have to make sure that it's more time consuming. And if you have to take it up, it's gonna take twice as long to take it out.
okay. We
Yeah,
just did.
we should be able, the only thing we would need without the cement is we will need, some sand, to put the bottom, sand or gravel, and I'll have our, maintenance supervisor get with you on what he needs.
Okay.
If council is okay to move forward with the project. And
And
if
why
I'm
we-
correct, the placement's gonna be mostly around the playground area, correct?
Yes, yes, that was what I was getting ready to say, we're talking about more around the children's area, although you could put things in, like I said, for adults, who, you know, like they, photography contest that they would vote for, a poetry contest they might vote for, that kind of thing, so it could be, but we still are thinking it's, gonna get more use around the children's area.
Council, at this point in time, now that you've seen the actual design itself and where they want to place it at, I would just need a motion from council for us to proceed forward with the library to install.
Make a motion that we proceed.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, the next item is our memorandum of understanding, JSB 73 report for special separation allowance. That's was in y'all's packets and we read over it, so Mr. Butron, would you want to speak to that for?
I'm gonna let Ms. Schultz express on that one.
This is what we do every year for the police department. Excuse me, for our budget, we have to have the separation allowance. We have one person in the police department who gets separation allowance. So they have to do a, actuary to verify that we do have the funds for that. So it's just what we do every year, but I have to get it approved by council.
Anybody have any questions on that? I make a motion to approve that.
I say.
All those in favor? We have we have three memorandums of understanding. Excuse me, two, I did one. Sparta Ford and Allegheny Farmers Market, y'all have an opportunity to look over those. Mr. Bruton, do we need is this just information, do we need to vote on this?
These are to be voted on, and do you want me to elaborate on any of these two? Elaborate on both of them real quick if you want to.
That would be good.
The Sparta Forward, what we're trying to do, or they've come and asked me if they can assist with beautification stuff throughout the town. After speaking with them, I made it clear that I don't have a problem working with the volunteer organization to help with flower planting and with maintaining the beautification of the town. But we cannot designate monetary to it. They understand that. They advise that they'd be able to get most of the items donated to them, which that is spelled out in the memorandum of agreement. What this also will do is it's going to say that it's going to put us in a position to go to one group for beautification items on Main Street. There was a lot of questions over who did what, was it the chamber, or was it the Sparta Forward group, or was it some other organization? Sparta Forward is requesting to, or they advise that they will be willing to take that venture themselves and be the head point to it. They, of course, they could communicate with other town organizations, but it would give us one contact if something was not to be the way that it needs to be. And again, there'd be no cost and all that's spelled out in the memorandum. And at any point in time, either one of us can pull out of that MOU.
As per the memorandum stated.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentlemen, have any questions on that? Need a motion?
Need a motion for that MOU.
I will make a motion that the memorandum of understanding for Sparta Ford and the Allegheny Farmers Market, y'all need to discuss it any further?
The farmer's market,
Okay, so,
Yeah.
cancel the motion.
the farmer's market is just, if you remember, I had a conversation with the county about the farmer's market. They were charging vendors $50 for a year or $7 on a daily basis. I informed them that we did not, since we pay for all the items at the farmer's market, they cannot be making a profit off any of these charges, and those charges solely have to be for whatever it is that they have to do operational wise, whether it's advertisement or assisting with the vendors. This MOU basically spells out the criteria of what the town will do, what they will do, and what the North Carolina Extension is gonna do. There is a section of the MOU that specifies that vendor fees cannot be utilized as a profit, and they have to be able to, and of course, the farmer's market can produce a, budget information to us if we feel the need to request that information from time to time.
And one thing I think we did discuss, and I noticed today, talking about that the town does provide electricity for the freezers there. And there was a question on why the freezers going year round when the farmer's market is made October.
Yeah, and that was a discussion that I had with them there, and as we move forward, we'll coordinate at the time that we'll cut those freezers off and cut any unnecessary electricity off from the farmer's market, so that it only has what needs to be on during operational season, and when it's not in season, they'll have to move their stuff to another facility to store. So we'll be able to cut stuff off as we move on.
And I think that's fair, but I was curious if that discussion took place. Any other questions? Any other questions? So my new motion is to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Sparta Ford and with the Allegheny Farmers Market.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the LGC response.
Council, if we've had several conversations budget-wise, and we've had several conversations related to the price of our water rates and sales, and I understand that the citizens took a big hit on the water last year. With that said, we actually did receive and you should have a copy of the letter that we sent to LGC, and you should also have this colored chart. This was a chart that was sent to us by the LGC. So in 23-24, our expenses surpassed our revenue with water and sewer itself. And if you notice, we were $207,882 for the year 2023, and then for 2024, it was $72,877. Still in the red. So this is, to informational purposes, what we sent to LGC, what we have done to correct the issues with the water rates, which is another reason why we cannot decrease water rates and sewer rates at this point in time, because we're still recuperating from the expenses that superseded our revenue in 23-24 fiscal year. This is for informational purposes only.
Any questions, gentlemen?
That should help alleviate any questions you receive as to water rates for the
The next item is the 2025-26 audit contract with C. Randolph CPA PLLC, and who is going to speak to that?
So this is the renewal contract for the audit. Is that correct, Ms. Schultz?
Yes, it is, and this is the second year that they will be auditing for us, and the rate is $25,000 for them to complete our audit, $25,500. That is $12,000 less than the previous auditors that we had. And I think we were well pleased with what they did last year, and we just need to proceed with this contract.
And and the town normally swaps auditors every 5 years.
So do we need a motion?
Please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion. Everybody in favor? And thank you for finding us an auditor that would work for a more affordable price. That's certainly always good. $12,000 is a big savings there. We appreciate that. The next item is the purchase order for the police department equipment. And I'm gonna guess that our chief will speak to that perhaps, or no, or?
Yeah, he'll answer any questions for you, but I will start the first part, and then you can answer him questions related to any of the equipment itself. As we are approaching the end of the budget year, the police department's budget still has some money that was allocated for them in their budget to be able to replace some equipment. In this case, they are requesting to replace their 10 service firearms that they currently carry. And there's 3 quotes that have been sent to us, and I'll let the chief provide more information on those. But aside from those firearms, they're also requesting to install 3 VHF radios on the vehicles themselves. Not VHF, trunking radios, 800 trunking radios. This is the new standard that is going through regards to radio system itself. The police department, sheriff's office is already on the 800 system. This will put all patrol vehicles on that 800 system as well, giving our police officers 2 methods of communications. Should their mobile radio fail, they still have their radio in their vehicle as well. And now, at this point in time, I'll turn it over to Chief Terry, and he can answer any questions that you have related to these items.
Like the town manager said, our handguns, I think we had a discussion about those before, replacing some of them that are very old and worn. So we've got a quote, we have 3 different quotes: Craig's Firearms, Glock, and we have one other quote from another dealer, which was A&Chair Wholesale. What our intentions are is to replace these aged handguns we have, and we only have about 8, but we need 10 for our positions. Some of these, just the one I'm carrying too, has some problems with magazine release and for safety issues. What we plan on doing is taking these firearms and selling them to a dealer, and officers or somebody will have a chance to purchase those, and we'll take that money and reuse that towards some cost effects, whether it's ammunition or for these handguns. The holsters will also be added as well, and I think the price is about $950, because we'll have to change holsters out as well for these handguns. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that about the purchase of these.
Chief, just to make sure that we're correct on this, Craig's Firearms, for their quote, would involve 10 pistols, 10 duty holsters, 10 off-duty holsters, the red dot that your officers have requested and like, they would be compatible with the holsters, and a flashlight for $12,373, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and then the Glock itself, gonna be this one right here. This one is gonna be trading in 6 firearms to Glock for a return of $1,350, purchasing 10 firearms from them for a total of $7,370, which would leave you a total of $6,020 after the credit, but you still have to turn back around and purchase your holsters, your red dot, and your flashlight separate.
Right, because Glock, the actual Glock company just sells you the gun.
And then Armchair Wholesales would do the Glock, the red dot, but not the flashlight. And that's gonna be $7,832, but you still have to turn back around and purchase your holster separate, correct?
And Glock too, just real quick, Glock figured in their trade-in value at $225, which was kind of low, to be honest with you. And they're not in that business, they'll tell you that, they're not in the business of, they won't say anything guns instead of going that route.
Now, the folks at Craig's, they've got the sales tax included in theirs, which adds a little bit to it. You'll still have to pay that on the others as well.
Yes, some was included, some was not
Yeah.
included. Craig's is, they're a dealer for Glock. They have a blue, there's a blue line or the blue, what they call dealership, which means that, Glock basically sells us goods.
Sir, can we assume that you made any local, regional, area gun dealers aware that they could bid on this if they chose?
Yes, ma'am, I have on a couple of occasions. And we would seek to, trade in these guns to local if we could possibly.
Just as long as you make no.
What will be the determination of which one of these quotes you go with?
Craig's is the one that I favor because they put everything in their package. This is a one-time shop, and we get everything from the sights, the red dots, the pistol, holster, just it's a turnkey and a flashlight. We get the whole deal. Whereas if you go to these other vendors, we're gonna have to purchase those and put them on the weapon. So take an order to do that. There's gonna be some other costs for that.
And if the pricing looks comparable on the firearms themselves.
They are, and like I said, Craig's, since I've been here, I actually purchased just a couple in my time here, and, they're straight from Glock, and they're what Glock's cost is, basically. It's what they sell to law enforcement for.
This is not really on the topic, but there was a recent incident where a firearm deputy, I think, had that was not secured. I would assume that our officers know that it's their responsibility when they leave the station, when they go home, that it's their responsibility to secure these firearms.
Yes, ma'am, we have a standard policy in the police department, for that reason, and quote the general statute as well, that everybody's a gun owner is responsible for the firearm.
And I was sure that's the case, but just for the public's information.
Since at this point in time, I need a motion for the firearms and then, the radios as well. If you are fine with radios, the cost of 3 radios, installation, and again, it'd be a turnkey process. We only have one quote on that. It's gonna be $10,999.47. Again, the money for the firearms and the radios is available in their funds.
We, haven't been short-staffed, just to add to that. We save quite a bit of money. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to use that money to improve our equipment. It's a good time. The radios, town manager said, the 3 Chargers, we do not have a mobile radio. The officers driving those only have a walkie, which is officer safety issues. If something happens at walkie, they have no other radio to reach to. So that's the reason we asked for 3 to start with, and we'll move forward. I'm actually anticipating some grants to open up, and we'll ask again for grant money, just like we replaced our handhelds, all purchased with grants.
Chief, we think this is certainly, obviously something you need, but in light of the fact that we only have 3 people, Mr. Evans and myself would like to, or I will make the motion to table this until the next meeting.
Sure.
Even when we come in to the tax time meeting. God, I just don't feel comfortable doing this with the other team.
And so I'll make the motion that we table this until our next meeting.
Yeah, we can add it to the, Monday meeting where we discuss with the, with everybody with appropriations.
Which is a continuation of this meeting, so I'll make that motion that we table this until the Monday meeting.
That's fine, I'll second.
All those in favor?
And that'll be at this coming meeting when we meet here next month.
Appreciate it, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next item is, the AMI meters.
So, we'll go ahead and discuss this, and then I will also discuss it with the other 2 council members that are not present today. But we need to make a decision, if at all possible, on AMI meters, before the end of this month. We did check with, Mr. Denochi with the funds that we're gonna be utilizing for it. He's said that it'll be okay for us to use it for the AMI meter, and that's the only way that we meter our sewer as well. However, we cannot use it for, pressure control sensing, which is something the council member, I would have asked. We can't use that money for that aspect. So there's a couple of things that we've done in the past 2 months to try to narrow down our options. While Ferguson was a good dealer, they had a lot of good things to it. Their yearly cost was pretty high for what we needed, which we would have to pass that cost on to our residents. They have the most monitoring capabilities, but it was the most expensive system that there was out there. So we feel that in order to help the town save money, not have to pull money from our fund balance that's assigned solely for those kinds of projects, capital improvement projects, we're better off to eliminate Ferguson at this point in time. Zinner, we did have a meeting with Zinner 2 weeks ago. Zinner has been difficult to make contact with and get some information from them. When we met with them online, we asked that they send us a recording of the video. We asked that they send us the propagation study. We still have yet to receive the propagation study. We have not received the recording of the video itself, which is in line with what I was informed by one of their customers who stated that they did have a customer service issue where they had difficulty getting information from their customer service representatives. And that company is based out of Texas itself. So that leaves us with Consolidated Pipe. They were in the middle. Their price was just a little bit less than Ferguson was. But we did look at a couple of things with the Consolidated Pipe. Consolidated Pipe's meters are the ones that, if you remember, the top screws off. The mechanics will stay available, and if it messes up, you can unscrew the top and screw another top back in there. So the mechanics will still continue to work. That company is based out of Greensboro. They have, so the support is going to be local. It's not far away, it's not out of state. Of course, with them being based in Greensboro, most of their business has been down there, and they're slowly moving their way up to the mountains at this point in time. Ferguson does have more people around here, but everyone that has Ferguson around us has a drive-by system because the AMI system is more expensive than the drive-by system. The purpose of the AMI system was to eliminate our people having to ride around and be able to get more preventive maintenance done, and the system will capture automatically to us. So Consolidated Pipe's system is going to be the AMI system as well, at a cheaper rate than Ferguson's going to be. Furthermore, we did check with Consolidated Pipe because the town of Independence uses Ferguson, and their state line meter that the BCWA pays for them is a Ferguson meter. The state line meter that North Carolina would have would be is a Ferguson meter as well. We did ask them if there was a way to read that meter. There is an adapter. Consolidated Pipe makes an adapter that goes to that meter that allows them to be able to read that meter as well. Whereas Zinner makes no adapter that reads any meter. Consolidated Pipe also does have a monitoring capability that can go on hydrants. We can work into that one in the next fiscal year, about the 25-26 fiscal year, 26-27 fiscal year. We can try to start implementing some of those systems out there. Zinner makes no system that does that. So at this point in time, with North Consolidated Pipe is our most trusted system to go with. But we're more than glad to table this to Monday if we want to. This is going to be, if I remember correctly, we're looking at $825,000 was Consolidated Pipe. But I'll have the exact. I'll have the printout one more time available for you Monday if you want to.
Just to make one point, we have to get this money spent for the state by the end of the year. So opportunity to keep this down.
Understood. Do you generally feel like we should table this until Monday? I think it's.
We're fine,
It
I'm
looks-
fine
Looks
if,
like a foregone conclusion to me that consolidated would be our best bet, but if we want the others to have.
We're not making a decision on
Right.
firearms. And if we want
So-
the full council here to do that, then it's gonna be Monday. We're not putting it off weeks. If we're just putting it off a few days and, you know.
So I'll make the motion.
Because this information wasn't in the packet, they wouldn't be able to, the other council members wouldn't have already had that information.
So
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we table this discussion until Monday, so that the other council members have an opportunity to hear what we just heard.
yeah, that's fine.
Second,
I'll say.
all in favor? Okay. Now comes the moment that we've all been eagerly anticipating, Mr. Dutron, your 2025, 2026 budget proposal.
Thank you, council. In alignment with the local budget and fiscal control act, North Carolina General Statute 15911, the proposed annual budget for fiscal year starting July 1, 2025, ending June 30, 2026 is balanced and presented for your review. The recommended fund balance are as follows: general fund of $2,768,590, an enterprise fund of $2,142,532, for a total budget of $4,911,122. The proposed budget as presented is balanced using the current property rate of 39 cents per 100 of assessed valuation for the town itself. The proposal at the timeline at this point in time is on June 3rd, 2025. The town council will hold a public hearing on the proposed 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. That is our next regular scheduled meeting. Any person wishing to be heard on the budget may appear then. The budget will be available for review online at townsparta.org or at Town Hall. There will be a physical copy available for them to review, located at 304 South Main Street, Sparta, North Carolina. The process of preparing the annual budget is influenced by numerous external factors. These factors include economic conditions prevailing at the state and local level, as well as the goals and needs identified by staff and the town council. Some of the external factors that affect this budget are the economy and continuing labor issues. All these factors are carefully considered in this budget. It is worth noting that this document represents a significant amount of careful consideration and study. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about the budget as we go through it. General fund expenditures. General fund managers resources not mandated by other funds. Expenditures allocate costs among departments, clarifying service delivery expenses. Personnel specific areas are paid for by their department. The town's budget includes administration, police, planning, maintenance, and sanitation. These town departments deliver services such as public safety, residential and commercial trash collection, park maintenance, special appropriations, and street maintenance. I strive for a reasonable budget that ensures public value for resources used. The graph shows expenditures by function. This budget shows a 0.36% decrease from the adopted 24-25 fiscal year budget. The operating expenses fall into two categories: capital and operating expenditures. The employees of the town represent the most significant asset as they provide the essential workforce necessary for the service provided. At least 21 individuals fulfill various roles that necessitate both self-motivation and adaptability. Retaining a talented, dedicated, and adequate training workforce is one of the primary objectives of the proposed budget. I want to move forward with this, And this is our general revenue itself. As you notice, our local option sales tax, our property tax, our sanitation, finance related taxes, and our general fund appropriations is what brings us to the biggest portion of our budget itself. And then after that, you have the other smaller revenues that will kick in to offset the budget and balance it out. So as we go by departments, I just want to talk real briefly. The administration and governing bodies' total expenditures is $576,920. This reflects modifications to health insurance premium, employee benefits, and augmented employer contributions to the retirement system. I do want to point out that that second bullet will be present in every department itself, referring to the modifications of health insurance premiums, employee benefits, and the augmented employer contributions to the retirement system. This also includes compensation to the Allegheny Board of Elections. With this being an election year, they take care of handling all of our elections as we move forward. And this also provides upgrades to computers and software within the town's administration and governing board itself. The police department expenditures equal to $1,176,384. This also includes a 5-year contract for 6 tasers versus 11, and that would be at $6,046 a year for the next 5 years. We did reach out, talk to them again, and that was the different quote. That is down significantly from the nearly $15,000 we had discussed in the first part. Next one is parks, planning, and maintenance. Total expenditures equal to $211,036. This budget also allocates money for one part-time person, so we can have the park and the trash on Main Street, as well as facilities maintained 7 days a week, which would extend the life of our assets because they're being maintained on a frequent basis. As we look to, one thing that, talking with our staff members, is the park is usually reserved every weekend. If we provide somebody on the weekends, we're gonna be able to make sure that they have clean facilities to utilize at the park. Whereas currently, it's maintained up to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, no one maintains the park, no one cleans the bathrooms, and make sure stuff is taken care of until Monday. So this would allow us to have one part-time person that can take care of that. And whether we put that part-time person on the weekends only, or they put them on the week, and then that on full-time will cover the weekends, that's something we'll work on scheduling wise as we move forward. So this will give us 7-day coverage for those assets. Sanitation's expenses equal to $301,772. This was going to allocate funds to purchase trash cans and dumpsters, which is what we had talked about in our last budget meeting. With that, we are looking to move from purchased trash cans to town-provided trash cans. But we're only gonna have an allocated amount for this year. Once we run out, we are out, and we will not buy any more of the 96-gallon trash cans until the following year. It's still only 2 trash cans per house, no more than 2 96-gallon trash cans per house. If we run out of trash cans and we elect to purchase more that can be sold as they are at this point in time, that is $70 a trash can, but we would have to have a substantial order before we can purchase any more. The dumpsters are going to be on the dumpster rental process, and those prices, when you get to the fee section, we'll talk about those prices are going to be market-based. And the reason they're market-based, when we called and we asked about the price of dumpsters, we were told that price is guaranteed for 7 days. After 7 days, you have to call and get another quote on your dumpsters again, just because of the fluctuating price of metal at this point. But while that market levels itself out, those are going to be on a market base. But we can always make an amendment to our budget at any point in time and set an exact fee for those dumpsters as we move forward.
On your trash cans?
Yes,
To a household, are you just saying if people want to, like myself, I don't need no 2. You ain't saying that you gonna give everybody just if they no more than 2 or household.
No more than 2, right?
If they need 2 or 3, but they just won't get 2.
Right, if they want 3, they get 2, that's all we can do, and they're on a first come, first serve. Once we run out, we run out. We do have an account that specifies who all currently has trash cans. So if that account shows up as having 2, then they're not eligible for another one, unless that trash can is no longer in existence. This is gonna allow us to better manage our trash cans. 'Cause at this point in time, where they're being purchased, we buy some with the expectations they're gonna be purchased, and we may go through a string where no one buys any, and then all of a sudden, we sell out of trash cans, and then those trash cans end up in other parts of the county or other parts of the state. So this will allow us to better manage it, and better manage the dumpster system as well.
Are you gonna keep some of those trash cans back to replace damaged
Yes.
trash cans?
Yes, we'll have a percentage that we'll keep back just for damage work.
What if you got a damaged trash can? Now,
If you have a damaged trash can right now, and say it's one of the 2 that you have, and we've approved the budget, we move forward with it, we can replace it, we can take that trash can back, and then we'll give you another. General fund expenditures is, total expenditures equal $429,478. Most of these are gonna be strictly restricted, are gonna be strictly restricted, expenditures. For example, the power bill, it can only be utilized for street and sidewalk, town sidewalk maintenance. And I say town sidewalk maintenance because Main Street, is a DOT street. We can use a little bit of money, we don't really use any money from power to maintain the street itself. But if one of these other streets was to have an issue, that's where we would pull money from, is from power bill to take care of that, so. And again, that's just kind of going through it. We did put some capital project restricted in there, that's $58,478. And what we've done is we moved money from general fund, which is what we were trying to decrease, we'll decrease it. We still pull money from general fund, and we're using some of that money in general fund to put into capital projects that are restricted. This is basically, we're taking money from a savings account and putting it into another savings account for capital project improvements in the future. Yes, sir. And of course, cemetery funds are strictly restricted to the cemetery, so just want to let you know that those are restricted funds. And we have special appropriations. Total expenditure for special appropriations is $73,000. I do want to touch a little bit on special appropriations, and I want to read out something. The town is dedicated to supporting community organizations that provide complimentary or reduced cost services to our tax-paying citizens. These services offered by these external organizations are those that the town is unable to fully provide due to funding and staffing limitations. However, limited taxpayer contributions will be extended. These contributions must be utilized by the organizations to fulfill their objectives of assisting residents of the town. The budget has decreased by 17.4% from last year's appropriation. The goal as we move forward with special appropriations is these funds must be utilized for services, again, that are either free or cost reduced. And I understand that in the past, there were several organizations, and that's one thing that in the, when council passed the special appropriations policy a couple months ago, the objective is to control our appropriations and make sure that we're doing appropriations for organizations that are assisting with services that we cannot fully provide ourselves. And finally, one thing that we want to talk about in the general fund itself was the employee contributions. As I explained to you earlier, employee investments, because our employees are the most important assets, our biggest thing that we are focusing on with this budget year as well, with preparing a concession plan to this. Current benefits that the town provides are employer-paid health insurance for the employee, employer-paid dental insurance for the employee, employer-paid short-term disability, and employer contributions to 401k for law enforcement, and employer contributions to 401a for general staff, and a $5,000 death benefits. As we move forward with the budget, our changes are to include everything that's in the current package, but we're increasing the death benefit from $5,000 to $35,000. We're adding employer-paid long-term disability to our employee benefits package. We're gonna add employer-paid vision insurance for our employees. And we're gonna do incremental longevity beginning at 5 years of service with the town. Once you reach 5 years of service with the town, you will start getting longevity every year after that, until the day that you separate from the town itself. Additional items included in the budget is a 4% one-time cost of living adjustment for all current employees that will go into effect on July 1 of 2025. And now we move on to our enterprise funds. Our water rates, as we discussed earlier, are going to remain the same this year, while we still try to offset the expenditure surpass of 2 years ago. So our inside rates are on 2,000 gallon minimum, still going to be $21.26 for water, $16.33 for sewer. Our outside rates are going to be $42.53 for water and $32.63 for sewer. Irrigation rates are inside is $26.58 and outside is $53.14. Our water expenditures accumulate to $1,517,764. Again, this reflects the changes to employee benefits. It also funds half a salary of a department head and funds and allocations for one water vehicle that was never replaced when the rest of the fleet was replaced and has a broken frame and has sat in the parking lot most of the year because it's not a safe vehicle to constantly drive at all times. The sewer expenditures would be $624,764, and this is going to allocate again for half a department head that will handle the sewer and water as we move forward, as we are relocating one department head to planning, maintenance, and park management. At this point in time, I'll entertain any questions on any of the items that we're presenting.
Okay, no questions, Mr. Atwood?
Been answered.
No, we say, or
I saw the I went to the expert. She answered.
Being no further questions, I make a motion we set, June 3rd, 2025 for the required public hearing on the proposed 25-26 budget. I'll make that motion.
I second.
All those in favor? And then we will have, actually, we're gonna, adjourn this meeting and continue that on May the 15th. Excuse me, May the 12th, I'm looking at it, but it's going to say 15th, so actually 12th. So we've already discussed that, and then, of course, being open meeting, everybody's invited to come down for that. Mr. Boutron, would you like to share with us the manager's report?
Yeah, so just a couple of things to manage. We did have our pre-bidding meeting for our wastewater treatment plant on the 23rd of April. McGill was down here. We did have two contractors that were present. I spoke to McGill about it. 5 contractors have already requested plans for the wastewater treatment plant. So our plans have gone out to 5 individuals. 2 of them did make their presence known that day and visited the site. So we are moving forward with that process. Our sealed bids will be the 22nd of this month, and those will be here. McGill will be here on that day to accept sealed bids at that point in time. And of course, we'll go through those sealed bids probably at the June meeting and just determine who we will award that bid to. sewer issues. We have had some sewer issues with the town. I do want to bring up some information.
If I may, Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Wonderful news on the bids, that we actually had 5 people interested, and thank you and everybody for working hard to get this process pushed forward. Well within our time frame, and just wanted to thank you for that, this is the utmost importance. And I'll shut it.
You're welcome, and thank you very much as well. It's been a process, but we're trying to get through it as quick as we can and make sure that we do everything correctly. So this sewer line is Grandview. This has been right here at the beside the county building. So this was the April 3rd, maybe April 4th. Some point in time early April, this popped up, and this has been a recurring problem. This has been the 4th time since I've been here that this has popped up. And in the past, our staff has gone out there on the weekends, and it always popped up right after it rained. A heavy rain would come in, and our staff would go out there and they would spend probably a good 8 to 12 hours jetting it, pushing water through it. We reported it to DEQ because water did come up and made it to the storm drain itself. And anytime it hits the storm drain, we have to report to DEQ that it has made its way out there. So we made multiple reports to DEQ on this incident. Our staff attempted multiple times to jet this with the jetter. We pulled Amazon bags, mop heads, rags, towels, and shirts. How people get these into their sewer is beyond me, but they managed to get them on there. And well, if you notice, the problem is right here. So this is an 8-inch sewer. Correction, it's just an 8-inch sewer line, 8-inch terracotta line, and down here is a 6-inch PVC line. And for whatever reason, when this was installed, there's a line that connects up here. If you notice this one, that goes up to Ballpark Road. For whatever reason, whoever installed this thought it was going to be the appropriate thing to cut that terracotta pipe and just slide in a PVC pipe and then put some concrete in there, and that was going to suffice and do that. You can't downgrade a sewer line without a manhole. So there was no manhole there, so we rented some equipment. We excavated it, and we found the issue, and there's no manhole there. So our crews worked diligently the whole day to get it installed, and this is a repair that we completed with it. We've installed another 8-inch line. We've done our adjustments to it, and now it is working the way it should work. And that is still a 6-inch headed up to the top, but that is 8-inch coming down, so now we should not have that problem that we've had. We just had some pretty good rainstorms, so we did not have any issues with it. But I wanted you to see what had happened and the progression that we took. On the first day this popped up, we tried to jet it, and we waited for the water to go down because it's a problem that occurs every time it rains. On day 2, we went back, we rejetted again, and jetted. We went from the bottom side, worked our way up. We went from Ballpark and worked our way down, and we went from the next street past Ballpark. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Not Duncan. But the next one down.
Montview Street.
Montview. We went from Montview and we jetted it, and we thought we found our issue at Montview, and what it is we found what looks to be somebody's Christmas tree wrapping instead that we pulled out of the sewer line, but it still did not resolve the problem up on top of Grandview. You'd be surprised when we find that in these places. But anyway, so we pulled that out, and as we pulled that out, we thought we made success. It decreased. It did not really work again, and so the third day we called in a septic truck. We pumped it out. We measured. We went through measurements. We called in emergency locate to try to get information to see where any fiber lines were, any power lines were, anything that would have been buried under it. And we dug it up, and then that's where we had found our issue. So our crews went through a process of diagnosing the problem and actually got within 2 feet of the actual blockage itself. And were able to find the whole issue, resolve it. So we should hopefully have no more problems on Grandview in the near future.
And I have a resident of Ballpark that mentioned that he had talked to the folks who were pumping. He said he was told there were newspapers in there. He was saying, well, why don't you all tell people? And so I said, well, are you suggesting that perhaps we have a sewer awareness week or something like that? But you've just covered that well, and yeah, these things can get into the sewer other than being flushed down a toilet, which is hard to imagine, but what are some other cases that they might get into a sewer? Like in a basement drain perhaps, or?
A basement drain, someone picks up a sewer hole somewhere and drops it in there. That right there, it actually, I guess it didn't say it. There's actually another one we just dealt with. I guess I didn't put the picture in there. We pulled them off.
I mean, as funny as this is, it's not
Out of one,
funny.
yeah.
But-
Yeah, it causes
So
issues.
someone can open the manhole or open
If someone gets the correct sewer pick, they can open manhole. Yeah, manholes are open, can be open.
because you can't put these things down the toilet,
Correct.
but we just, I guess, urge folks to be careful and vigilant and not put stuff in the sewer.
Correct. We just had another issue at an apartment complex where we had a similar problem, and there was actually 2 problems there. One's on the landlords of the facility. They're gonna have to do some work on their end to fix it, and the other one was on our side, and we were able to get ours resolved pretty quickly without any. We did have to call some truck to come in, clean it out. We pressure washed the inside of the manhole itself to make sure we had no other problems. But we were able to pull a mop head, a whole mop head out of there that had rags and everything else attached to it. So people put stuff in the sewer line, put stuff in different drains that don't need to go in there. Rags, anything that's not disposable, that does not degrade itself, not go in there. Even the flushable wipes. Flushable wipes are not flushable wipes. They will clog the sewer in a heartbeat. Flushable wipes don't need to go into the sewer as well. And aside from the flushable wipes, grease is another thing that we are finding issues with, and we've just bought some chemicals, some new chemicals that are out in the market for grease. And as soon as you pour these in there, it'll start to clean it up. But they are expensive. We're looking at $35 for a 5-gallon bucket of this chemical. We can't utilize that frequently. We utilize that as a last-ditch effort, but we do ask that people not put grease into those areas. And we actually have, there's our first lift station at the very bottom of 21, lift station 1. There's an expensive agitator in there. I want to say it's close to $12,000 maybe. And what it does is sits there and it agitates the sewer so that it'll break up the grease, because if it doesn't break it up, it's just gonna clog everything else. So we do ask that grease not be put into these sewer lines.
And seriously, for everybody that's listening, you don't want to put grease in your own drain at home, or I know. Another problem we had many years ago, someone put something, a chemical into the sewer, a chemical in the sewer line, and
Right.
never knew what or where or how, and actually adversely impacted bacteria in the wastewater treatment plant. So you don't want to put your grease in your oils and things, and nothing needs to go in that sewer but just sewage from your.
Yeah, we have live bacteria at the sewer plant that has to stay alive, so we can't just pour any chemical in there. And the last thing I've got to mention out to in manager's report is I want to make a correction. There was an error that was, and the council was misinformed at our April 1st meeting, and I want to address that real quick. There was the zoning, hearings for, Grandview Drive. Those, information asked whether that request was put into the, newspaper, and I informed council that it was in the newspaper. Afterwards, I went back and I spoke with our department head that handled that situation, and I asked them about that and the information, and after speaking with him, it was determined that the information was not put in the newspaper for the actual, hearing itself. It was, let me get the correct paper out so I can read this. I left it in at the office, but the newspaper did not receive a notice for the planning board meeting itself. And I spoke to our department head that handled it, and I asked him why that never went out. I was under the impression that he had done everything else. He said, in the past, I've always been told that we only put our public hearing, which is gonna be the one for town council, in the newspaper for the zoning request, but we don't have to put the other ones. So we went back, we looked at a few general statutes on it, we discussed it. General statute for state of North Carolina says that we may, keyword may, publish the planning board meetings. We are gonna publish planning board meetings in the future, so that everyone is aware. Those meetings will be published in the newspaper, even though the terminology in there says may be published. So you can technically hold a planning board meeting in private, but it's not really good practice, it doesn't really work for transparency. So we're gonna make sure that those meetings are published, which goes in line with our fee schedule. And we didn't really get a chance to talk about fee schedule, and I forgot about it. Which goes in line with our fee schedule as to why it is that planning fees will be increasing, because we're gonna have to be publishing a lot more to be in compliance with all this stuff.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Will, but has that not been the, way we normally did things before this particular instance, that they were published in the newspaper? Is it just, I was under the understanding that they were published in the newspaper, and then this is just one that just got missed, is that right?
No, so from what I was told by the employee was, in the past, they were told about planning board meetings did not have to be published, just the final hearing meetings had to be published.
Public hearing.
Now, the general statute specifies that public hearings do have to be published at least 10 days, but no more than 25 days before that meeting takes place.
So there had been no planning board meetings advertised in the newspaper prior to this last one?
Correct.
We used to advertise it. In the past, they had to go in the paper so that people would be aware that there was a planning board meeting. In the past, we do have affidavits saying we did put it in the paper. And
So-
then the public hearing.
And I think that is a good practice. I think
So at some point in time, this stopped. I'm not really sure why it stopped, but I did have that discussion with that employee. And I did speak to the individual and told them that, it was my apologies that council was misinformed that night. And that falls back on me, because I expected the employee to publish that meeting and it did not get published. So I informed the individual that I misinformed council that night in front of everybody else about that publication. But moving forward, we're gonna make sure the roads are taken care of, and we'll make sure those affidavits for those publications are put along with the minutes of the planning board as well.
And we will also, I don't know if this is still in the past, but we'll publish the planning board meetings on the website.
And on Facebook.
And on the Facebook page, so for those digital decline folks, they see that as well. And to, Mr. Boutron's point, and Pete, and I'm not saying anything negative at all about our local newspaper. That's a good, excellent job. But newspaper ads are charged by the inch. And as to our fees, it's very expensive. I noticed one of our ads for the police administrative assistant was like 37 inches. It runs into a lot of money. And if anyone, and that's how newspapers work, and that's, I'm not slandering them or anything they can buy, but it is an expense, and it is an expense.
Yeah, and we'll do a better job of correcting those. And again, that goes back to why we're having that department head separated from the current responsibilities and streamlining things need to be done in the federal department. I also did inform the individual that we did not intentionally leave them out of the public board, of the planning board meeting. The individual was told that they would receive a letter or phone call or some sort of notice about it. But I also did tell them that you cannot do that, because once we do it for once, we have to do it for all. So what we're gonna do is, we'll do a general publication, a newspaper, on Facebook, and our website of the planning board meeting. The signs will go up on the streets where the meetings are gonna be. But, you know, at that point in time, it's a citizen's responsibility to check those sites for planning board meetings, and then, of course, the public hearings as they always happen.
And the planning board meetings are open to the public, any and all planning board meetings are open to the
Yes,
public.
even though the general statute throws the word may hold a public hearing, they are open to the public. So if someone shows up and wants to talk about the planning board, talk to the planning board about their concerns, they have every right to speak to them. So, however, I will say the general statute specifies that the planning board, and this is another practice that we're already moving forward with, the planning board must provide a written recommendation, which has not been done up to this point in time. As we move forward, the planning board will be required to do a written recommendation. We actually had this scheduled for a class, for the end of April, and that class ended up being not for planning board, but ended up being for quasi-jurisdictional, which was not what they needed. So we're gonna send them to another class. As soon as we get a class, we can send the planning board members to, and the town will pay for that transportation and their meals for that day. Because we do need to make sure that our planning board is in line with general statutes,
Absolutely.
and that they have all the information they need to make the appropriate decisions.
Absolutely. Is that all?
That is it for the moment.
Was any?
Now, those are those mandated to be, advertised in the paper as well?
The only thing that is mandated is the governing body's meeting, which will be the council meeting.
But will we, going forward, put those in the paper as well?
Yes, any meeting, whether it's planning board, whether it's Board of Adjustments, we'll publish all those meetings, and we'll, you know, that again is, those costs is covered in the updated fees.
I would think those would be, even probably more important to advertise, because their decisions don't come back to us.
Any other business? Now open the floor to public comments under GS 168.81.1. This is public comment on anything that you might have on your, not agenda items, anything else. Seeing no motion,
Can I ask one question? I know, going back to that planning board, item that we were talking about earlier, we had tabled that. Do we have a schedule to when we'll revisit that issue?
Not at this time, because we have a few others that have to be brought to you, and that we brought to you at the May 12th meeting. And once we get those situated, we'll add that one back to the agenda, back to the planning board's agenda. And I didn't, because of everything that was on here, and I didn't know how long our budget session was gonna take, I wanted to push that back to the Monday meeting. So there'll be a request for council to send, an additional item for rezoning to the, planning board at our next meeting.
But so when will we revisit the item that we tabled?
We have
On Grandview.
planning board has 30 days from the time that you send it to them to revisit it. Now, you can always extend it more than 30 days, but the goal would be to revisit that one at the next planning board meeting. And if we get that item sent to them by our Monday meeting, then we should hopefully have a meeting by before the end of the
We've
week.
already got a recommendation from the planning board on that item. We tabled the rezoning.
When will the council,
When will we revisit the
the original item?
rezoning that we tabled?
Kevin was out speaking with Mr. Ricardo and trying to get information on the other property. If I remember correctly, the stipulation was council needed to know what he was gonna do, and council also wanted him to submit his other property for rezoning before anything got approved for this one.
I just know we kind of left that open-ended and
Yeah,
instead
so-
of kicking it down the road, I thought
No.
maybe we might.
Yeah, we're not
be
gonna
a
take it
time
down
when
the
we will
road.
address it.
We can revisit it beforehand, but if I remember correctly, and I have to go back and pull the minutes, council wanted to see him submit his other property for rezoning before we made a decision on his original property. And he's been told that he's got 30 days to submit his information for rezoning. So as soon as we get his rezoning for the other one, this will be brought back over again. And we can, if you want to send it back to the planning board, you can send that one back to the planning board, or you can just hold the public hearing again here. Since at this point in time, it's up to council whether you proceed forward with the rezoning.
If we sent that back to the planning board at that point, then would it be advertised so that people would have an opportunity to speak at the planning board or be
Yes.
represented at the planning board?
Yeah, it would be at a planning board meeting, which would go back with the new practice that everything has to be advertised.
But if we sent it back to the planning board, we wouldn't send it back as a, how would that work? Maybe Mary could answer that question. What's the legalities of that? I mean, it's not a rejection of the planning board recommendation. I don't think the council is rejecting the recommendation.
We're just asking them to review it again. I think that would be acceptable.
Their purpose is to advise us, and if we need more advice, then we can ask them to provide more advice.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting advice from them.
Any other business that anybody has?
I would ask if you would, do we need to consider that, or would you want the other members of the council here to consider sending that one back to the, I mean, if we tabled it for a reason and it was pretty open-ended.
Yeah,
When we tabled it.
It was tabled
And-
with the expectation that he needed to file his other property zoning before we could approve this.
So I guess we're waiting for him to provide that in the planning board before we make.
So that would come with a recommendation also from the planning board.
Correct.
And then we're gonna address both of those in the same meeting.
I think that's what everybody wanted to do.
Okay.
That's what I was calling for. Any other business? If there is none, then we will, what's the word I'm looking for, Peggy? We're not adjourning, we're continuing.